Have you ever wondered why toxic people seem drawn to you? Why you attract manipulators, energy drainers, and people who push your limits, no matter how kind or patient you try to be? It's not because you're weak. It's because they can feel your reactions, your explanations, your need to be understood, and they feed on it. Marcus Aurelius taught that the moment you stop reacting, everything changes. When you pause instead of explaining, when you stay calm instead of defending yourself, when you hold your silence instead of rushing to prove your worth, toxic people lose their power over you. They lose interest. They disappear, not because you push them away, but because they can no longer use you. In this video, you'll learn exactly how you've been targeted and the one shift that stops it instantly. If you're tired of feeling drained, disrespected, or manipulated, if you want your energy back, your peace back, your self-respect back, stay with me. What I'm about to show you will change the way you deal with every toxic person in your life, forever. Marcus Aurelius understood one thing most people never realize. Toxic people don't choose random targets. They choose reactive ones. They look for the person who flinches first, apologizes first, explains first. They look for the one who feels responsible for everyone's emotions, the one who can't stand being misunderstood, the one who reveals everything just to avoid conflict. Does that feel familiar? Think about how many times you lowered your voice just to keep someone comfortable. How many times you explain yourself 3, 4, 5 times just so no one would be upset? How many times you replayed conversations in your head, wondering if you said the wrong thing? How many times you forgave behavior that drained you because you didn't want to seem dramatic? Toxic people sense this. They sense the softness, the openness, the over-responsibility, and they move straight toward it. Marcus Aurelius warned about this dynamic more than 1,800 years ago. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. In other words, they only control you because you keep giving them access. They only get reactions because you keep reacting. They only pull your strings because you keep showing them where they are. This is what no one tells you. Toxic people don't fear strength. They fear calm. They fear the person who doesn't explain. They fear the person who doesn't rush. They fear the person who doesn't crumble under pressure. They fear the one who sees everything and reacts to nothing. The moment you stop handing them your emotions, the moment you stop performing for their approval, the moment you stop participating in their chaos, they lose the only thing they were ever after, your reactivity. And without your energy to feed on, they quietly disappear. Because Marcus Aurelius was right. The one who controls themselves controls the room. Toxic people don't target you by accident. There is a psychological pattern behind it. Predictable, repeatable, almost mathematical. And Jung, modern psychology, and even Marcus Aurelius would all agree. They choose the emotionally open, not the emotionally weak. They look for the person who feels deeply, for the one who notices small shifts in tone, who tries to understand everyone who hates conflict, who worries about hurting feelings, who wants peace more than victory. Think about it. Toxic people don't pick the aggressive one. They don't pick the confident one. They don't pick the person who sets boundaries without blinking. They pick the one who hesitates, the one who overthinks their words, the one who apologizes first, even when they're not wrong, the one whose empathy becomes a doorway. For toxic personalities, this kind of energy is like a magnet. Why? Because it gives them leverage. Because it gives them emotional access, because it gives them reactions, and reactions are fuel. Here are 3 examples. They sense your discomfort and push harder. Ever notice how the moment you look uneasy, they raise their voice, sharpen their tone, or start guilt-tripping you? They're testing the doorway. They see you trying to explain yourself, so they interrupt. Because every explanation is proof that you fear being misunderstood. That's leverage. They notice you hate disappointing people, so they use pressure. After everything I've done for you, you're really going to act like this? You've changed. This is manipulation disguised as disappointment. Marcus Aurelius would say, choose not to be harmed, and you will not be. Meaning, it's not that they harmed you, it's that they discovered where your emotions live. Toxic people are not attracted to your weakness. They are attracted to your lack of boundaries. Not because you're broken, but because you were raised to be kind, understanding, responsible, receptive. And here's the dark truth. Your empathy is the exact trait they exploit. Your softness becomes their strategy. Your openness becomes their entry point. Your overthinking becomes their comfort zone. And until you change how you respond, nothing in the dynamic will ever change. But the good news is, the moment you shift to one behavior, just one, the entire toxic pattern collapses. E é isso que vamos ensinar no próximo ponto. Marcus Aurelius believed that almost all suffering comes from one mistake: reacting too quickly. Toxic people thrive on speed. They want you emotional, unbalanced, defensive, talking fast, justifying yourself without thinking. They want you in a state of urgency. Because urgency is when you stop thinking and start surrendering. But the moment you pause, even for 2 seconds, the entire dynamic shifts. The pause is not weakness, it's not fear, it's not indecisiveness, it's power. Why? Because when you pause, you break their rhythm, you disrupt their psychological advantage, you force them into uncertainty, you stop feeding them your emotional energy, and suddenly they can't read you anymore. Think about this. Have you ever noticed how toxic people get irritated when you don't react immediately? They escalate, they repeat themselves, they get louder, they pressure harder. Why? Because your pause is exposing their lack of control. A calm silence is their worst enemy, Marcus Aurelius wrote. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but your estimation of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. When you pause, you stop estimating the threat. You stop giving emotional meaning to their behavior. You stop letting their energy decide yours. Here's what the Stoic pause looks like in real life. Someone insults you. You don't defend yourself, you just pause and look at them. They break first. Someone pressures you to answer. You silently breathe in, breathe out, and respond when you choose, not when they demand the pressure dies. Someone tries to guilt trip you. You say nothing for a few seconds. They start stumbling because without your reaction, the manipulation has nothing to latch onto. The pause is the crack where their power leaks out. Because in that moment, you are no longer reacting to their emotions. You are observing them. And the person who observes always dominates the one who reacts. When you pause, you reclaim the one thing toxic people cannot tolerate: your emotional sovereignty. And when they can no longer control your reactions, they will slowly and inevitably disappear. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. And nothing exposes your power more clearly than this. You stop explaining yourself. Toxic people don't use logic. They use your explanations as rope. Every time you over-explain, justify, or defend yourself, You hand them more leverage. You're signaling, I need you to understand me. I need you to approve of me. I need you to see I'm not the problem. And the moment you need something from them, they own the dynamic. Here's the truth most people never realize. Explaining yourself is not communication. It's self-betrayal disguised as clarity. Think about how often this happens in your life. You apologize 3 times even when you're right, because you don't want tension. You write long texts explaining your intentions, because you fear being seen as cold or rude. You defend your boundaries like they're courtroom cases because you're afraid someone will label you difficult. You explain your silence because you feel guilty for choosing peace. But here's the dark psychology behind it. Toxic people don't want explanations. They want access. Access to your insecurity, access to your guilt, access to your urgency, access to your emotional need to make things right, and explaining yourself gives them the map. Marcus Aurelius' approach was simple. Speak little, act cleanly. Let your presence communicate your truth. Because here's the power move. When you stop explaining yourself, people are forced to deal with their own projections. Your silence becomes the mirror that exposes them. They have nothing to argue against, nowhere to insert themselves, no emotional hook to pull on the person who says, no, I'm not available. That doesn't work for me, and stops talking, becomes untouchable. This is when toxic people begin to disappear. Because without your justifications, without your emotional essays, without your explanations, they can no longer influence your mind. And someone who can't influence your mind cannot stay in your life. Marcus Aurelius understood something most people still don't. Silence is not the absence of power, it is the concentration of it. Toxic people expect noise. They expect you to defend yourself, explain yourself, argue, plead, react, justify. They need that noise because noise gives them something to manipulate. But silence gives them nothing. Silence exposes their insecurity. Silence forces them to reveal their intentions. Silence removes the oxygen their drama needs to survive. Silence shows them that their behavior no longer moves you. That's why toxic people become irritated, confused, even angry when you stop responding immediately. They aren't upset because you're rude. They're upset because their usual strategies suddenly stop working. Here's what silence looks like in real life. Someone tries to guilt trip you. You don't argue, you simply sit in silence. Their guilt trip collapses on itself. Someone tries to provoke you with sarcasm or passive aggression. You don't fire back. You don't defend your character. You look at them with calm neutrality. They lose all momentum. Someone demands an instant response. You take your time. You breathe. You respond when you choose. Their control evaporates because silence is not emptiness. Silence is pressure. Silence is authority. Silence is the refusal to be controlled. Marcus Aurelius would call it sovereignty of the mind, the ability to remain unmoved while others collapse into themselves. Silence turns the game around. They can't predict you. They can't manipulate your reactions. They can't use your emotions. They can't escalate the drama. Your silence becomes the boundary they cannot cross. And here's the part that truly scares toxic people. When you stop giving them emotional noise, they have to hear their own. This is why silence is not passive. It is not surrender. It is not weakness. Silence is domination without aggression, control without conflict, a power that needs no performance. And those who cannot control you will eventually leave you. If silence is a weapon, then slowing your responses is the shield. Toxic people move fast because speed is how they control you. The faster you respond, the less you think. The less you think, the easier you are to manipulate. Marcus Aurelius taught the opposite. If something can wait, let it wait. He understood that reaction is weakness, but pacing is power. When you slow down, you stop giving them emotional fuel. You stop giving them psychological leverage. You stop letting their urgency become your urgency. You stop letting their chaos set your tempo. Toxic people rely on your immediate compliance. They need you to answer quickly so you won't notice what's happening. And you know this feeling, that knot in your stomach, that pressure in your chest, that I need to respond right now or something bad will happen. That's not intuition, that's conditioning. Here's what slowing your responses does in real life. Someone sends a confrontational message. You don't reply in 5 seconds, you don't explain, you don't rush. You leave it for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour. Suddenly you're no longer predictable. They lose psychological access. Someone confronts you in person. You take a breath before speaking. You look at them calmly. You let silence pass. They feel their own aggression bouncing back at them. Someone asks, "Well, what do you have to say?" You don't react to the pressure. You think. You choose. You answer from clarity, not fear. And this is the point. When you slow your responses, they can no longer control your emotional state. Toxic people hate slow responses because they cannot hijack your attention. They cannot force you into explanations. They cannot escalate the conflict. They cannot predict your next move. They cannot decode your inner world. You become unreadable, unreachable, emotionally untouchable. Marcus Aurelius would call this inner pacing, the discipline of refusing to let the world set your speed. The slower you respond, the faster toxic people lose interest. Because without your urgency, they have no power. Marcus Aurelius believed that a person's strength is revealed in the simplicity of their boundaries. Not in how loudly they defend themselves, but in how calmly they refuse what does not align with their integrity. Most people don't realize this, but toxic individuals are not threatened by the word no. They are threatened by a clean no, a no without apology, a no without a dissertation, a no without bending your spine to soften the blow. Because the moment you start explaining why you're saying no, you're not setting a boundary. You're asking for permission to have one, and that gives toxic people exactly what they want. Room to negotiate your self-respect. Here's what a Stoic boundary looks like. I'm not available, not followed by a paragraph. That doesn't work for me. Not followed by over-explanation. No, not followed by a defensive justification. This simplicity terrifies toxic people because they can't argue with silence. They can't twist a short answer. They can't manipulate a firm position. They can't guilt trip someone who refuses the guilt. They can't push against a boundary that doesn't open a door. A boundary becomes weak the moment you start explaining it. Examples from your real life. Someone tries to pressure you into doing a favor. Instead of, "I'm sorry, I'm just so overwhelmed right now. I wish I could, but I have all these things." You simply say, "I can't do that." Period. Someone demands emotional labor from you. You don't justify your tiredness. You say, "Not right now." Someone asks for money, time, or attention you don't want to give. No. Full stop. This is what Marcus Aurelius practiced. Clarity without hostility, firmness without aggression, strength without noise. Because when your boundary is clean, when your no stands on its own 2 feet, toxic people quickly discover they cannot enter. They don't disappear because you fought them. They disappear because you finally stopped offering explanations. They could twist into invitations. A boundary with no story is a door they cannot open. Marcus Aurelius believed that the greatest prison a human being can live in is the fear of what others think. Toxic people know this. Intuitively, they sense your desire to be liked, understood, accepted, seen as good. And that's the lever they pull every time they want control. The moment you detach from their opinion, the entire structure of manipulation collapses. Ask yourself honestly, how many times have you changed your behavior just to avoid being judged? How many times have you stayed silent because you didn't want someone to think you were rude? How many times have you over-explained because you feared looking selfish? How many times did you stay in a situation that drained you because you were afraid of being misunderstood? This is the fuel toxic people burn through. Because if they can't control your actions, they will try to control your image of yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It is not the opinion of others that troubles you, but your opinion of their opinion." In other words, they aren't hurting you. You are hurting yourself by believing them. Here's what detaching truly looks like. Someone calls you selfish, you don't defend it. You don't internalize it. You simply let it pass through you like smoke. Someone accuses you of changing. You don't argue, you accept it because you know change was necessary. Someone tries to shame you for setting boundaries. You don't collapse. You don't overthink, you stay rooted in your truth. Because a Stoic knows when you stop responding to their opinion, they lose their script. And toxic people hate losing their script. They panic when their labels no longer work. They scatter when you stop caring about their approval. They disappear when your identity stops depending on their perception. The deepest form of power is this: not needing anyone to misunderstand you less. When you reach that state, when their opinion no longer penetrates your emotional world, you become someone they cannot manipulate, cannot provoke, cannot intimidate. You become untouchable. And nothing makes a toxic person disappear faster than realizing they can no longer control how you see yourself. Toxic people don't drain you because they are complicated. They drain you because you keep trying to fix them. This is the trap. You see someone suffering or struggling or spiraling, and your instinct is to help, guide, teach, heal, explain, rescue. You think your clarity can save them. You think your love can change them. You think your patience can repair them. But Marcus Aurelius warned against this illusion. You have power over your mind, not outside events, including other people. You cannot save someone who benefits from staying broken. You cannot rescue someone who uses their suffering as currency. You cannot help someone who secretly enjoys being the victim. You cannot heal someone who needs chaos to feel alive. Yet you keep trying, don't you? You stay longer than you should. You give more than you have. You explain until your voice breaks. You carry their problems on your back like they're your responsibility. You confuse compassion with self-sacrifice. And toxic people know this. They know you won't abandon someone in pain. So they weaponize it. They turn their dysfunction into your obligation. Here's what this looks like in real life. They constantly ask for emotional support but never change because your attention is the reward. They create chaos and expect you to stabilize it because they know you will. They blame you when they don't improve because guilt binds you. They collapse whenever you try to pull away because your empathy is their rope. But here's the truth Marcus Aurelius would tell you. You're not helping them. You're enabling them, and you're hurting yourself in the process. There is nothing noble about drowning with someone who refuses to swim. Your job is not to fix anyone. Your job is to live in a way that inspires others to fix themselves. The moment you stop trying to heal people who repeatedly refuse responsibility, the moment you let their problems return to the only person who can solve them, toxic people will instantly disappear. Why? Because without your energy to sustain their dysfunction, they have no place to attach. You free yourself, and you force them to face themselves, and that is the one thing they fear most. Marcus Aurelius didn't aim to be invincible. He aimed to be emotionally untouchable, not cold, not numb, not disconnected, simply unmoved by the noise of others. This is the final step, because toxic people don't disappear when you fight them. They disappear when they realize they cannot influence your inner world. To be emotionally untouchable means you don't take bait. You don't mirror someone else's chaos. You don't absorb what isn't yours. You don't collapse under judgments. You don't rush to fix emotional messes you didn't create. You don't let someone's tone dictate your peace. You don't internalize someone's mood as your fault. It means you stand in yourself fully. Here's what emotional untouchability looks like in the real world. Someone disrespects you. You don't react. You don't beg for respect. You simply adjust your access to them. Someone tries to provoke you. Your face stays calm. Your voice stays slow. Your mind stays still. They hit a wall of silence instead of your emotions. Someone withdraws affection to control you. You don't chase. You don't panic. You remain centered because your stability is internal, not borrowed. Someone gives you the silent treatment. You enjoy the quiet. You don't break first. You don't fill their void with explanations. To be emotionally untouchable is not about being distant. It's about being sovereign. You are no longer manipulated by moods, guilt, or pressure. You no longer overreact to criticism or attention. You no longer break when someone withdraws. You no longer feel responsible for everyone's emotional comfort. Marcus Aurelius called the state the fortress of the mind. And in this fortress, you no longer seek approval, validation, permission, or reassurance. You no longer hand your emotional world to anyone. This is the moment toxic people start to vanish, not because you push them away, but because interacting with you becomes pointless. They can't feed on your reactions. They can't twist your words. They can't destabilize your center. They can't break through your calm. You rise above them, not through aggression, but through self-mastery. And once you reach this state, you don't just remove toxic people, you become someone they can't even approach. Here's the truth Marcus Aurelius understood long before modern psychology confirmed it. You never have to remove toxic people. Your transformation removes them for you. When you stop overreacting, when you stop rushing, when you stop explaining, when you stop rescuing, when you stop absorbing, when you stop negotiating your boundaries, something incredible happens. Toxic people lose all interest in you, not because you cut them off, but because you stopped being useful to them. Manipulators disappear when you stop giving emotional responses. Energy vampires disappear when you stop offering endless attention. Controllers disappear when you stop collapsing under pressure. Narcissists disappear when you stop needing their validation. Passive-aggressive people disappear when you stop rewarding their silence with effort. You didn't push them away. You didn't confront them. You didn't beg them to change. You simply change yourself, and that alone breaks the entire dynamic. Toxic people can only exist where there is reaction, guilt, fear, insecurity, urgency, emotional access. Take those things away, and they have nothing left to hold on to. It feels almost supernatural, doesn't it? One day, the same person who drained you suddenly loses their grip. Their insult don't land. Their silence doesn't bother you. Their manipulation doesn't work. Their emotional storms no longer pull you in. They look at you differently, confused, unsettled, almost threatened, because you changed the rules of the game, and they don't know how to play without your old self. Marcus Aurelius would say that what disappeared wasn't the person, but the power they had over you. You reclaimed your mind. You reclaimed your energy. You reclaimed your emotional sovereignty. And when you change like this, something beautiful happens. The wrong people fade, and the right people finally have space to find you. This is the transformation. You don't just lose toxic people, you lose the version of yourself that tolerated them. Marcus Aurelius believed that the highest form of strength is quiet, not loud, not dramatic, not aggressive, but calm, grounded, self-contained. A strength that doesn't need to prove itself to anyone. You don't need to confront, expose, or fight toxic people. You don't need dramatic exits or emotional speeches. You don't need to prove your worth or defend your character, your silence, your boundaries, your slowed responses, your emotional detachment, your refusal to explain yourself. These things speak louder than any argument you could ever make, because true power isn't what you show the world. It's what the world can no longer take from you. And that's the beauty of all of this. You don't rise above toxic people by being better than them. You rise above them by being unreachable by the things that once controlled you. You stop playing their game. You stop reacting to their chaos. You stop absorbing their projections. You stop negotiating your worth. You stop letting their emotions rewrite your identity. You become someone who walks through the world with a kind of quiet gravity. Someone who doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't justify. Someone who chooses peace over performance. And when you embody this calm inner authority, the people who were never meant for you fall away on their own. No force, no noise, no conflict, just a natural separation between who you were and who you have finally become. Marcus Aurelius would call this returning to the self. And when you return to yourself, the world becomes quieter, clearer, and far less crowded. Because the moment you defend your peace with quiet strength, every toxic person you once feared losing loses their place in your life, without you ever having to say a single word.